Okay, so good morning everyone. My name is Lalit Soni and you are watching Drishti IAS. In this live session, we will be discussing today's Indian Express. There are 3-4 important articles which we will focus on. One is related to your COVID shield, which is in news because there are some side effects which has been talked about. So one is that is related to your blood clot. So basically there was this case which has been found, or you can say various cases which has been put against this a particular company which has made Covishield, okay, like AstraZeneca, etc. So in that regard, they have come up with these side effects. So we will be talking about that. Then rise in mumps cases. Okay, so mumps disease is a viral disease. Okay, and because of which you can say recently it is been seen that in Delhi there is a rise in mumps cases. That rise is associated with the, you can say some reduction in the drive, immunization drive, or the, you can say, vaccination drive. Okay, so we will see why that happened. Then what caused the heat waves in April? You must have seen that the April month was quite hot and there was various you can say heat waves, or the areas wherein we have seen that the temperature has rose above normal. So we will talk about why this particular thing was seen in April, what was the causes behind it. This is a normal article which, because we have various times discussed about the monsoons, we have discussed about the El Nino, the heat waves, all these things. So we will talk about this article as well. From the front page here you can see mostly news are either related to your elections or they are political. Okay, now they are here, new Navy chief. This you may remember that Admiral Dinesh Kumar Tripathi has joined as a, you can say, new Navy chief. Okay, now coming to the practice question which was given to you in the last lecture. Where were fossil of Chakisaurus necule was discovered? Okay, so yesterday we have talked about this Chakisaurus necule. Okay, and their fossils has been found, and it is the, you can say, a fast runner dinosaurus, or it is the medium sized as well. Most important is that it is a herbivorous. Okay, so it was found in Pueblo Blanco Natural Reserve. Okay, so C would be your right answer. Now moving further, and let's start with today's discussion, that is related to, first topic is related to our COVID vaccine. Yesterday we have covered this particular article in our in news section, wherein we have talked about the what is the issue. Okay, today we will be discussing the holistic approach, or we will see what is this you can say this COVID vaccine, what kind of COVID vaccines India had administered, and why we are seeing such side effects recently. Okay, now in India we had two vaccines. One was this Covishield, second was Covaxin. Okay, now with this particular vaccine we did not see, as of now there is no potential harm of this particular blood clotting, etc., which has not been associated as per now. But when we are talking about Covishield, there are certain concerns which has been raised. Okay, so we will talk about that. Now here you can say pharmaceutical giant AstraZeneca has said that AZD1222 vaccine, AZD1222 vaccine, this particular vaccine is in India, it is manufactured as Covishield. Okay, so if they give this name or that name, you don't have to confuse. So AstraZeneca has said that there are some kind of, you can say, some rare incidences of low platelet count has been associated with it. Okay, and there was also formation of blood clots which has been seen. Okay, so here you can say AstraZeneca has said that AZD1222 vaccine, which was made under license in India as Covishield, could cause low platelet count and cause formation of the blood clots in very rare cases. Okay, now they are saying that this is very rare cases. We will see how rare it is, but the thing is this has come forward. Okay, now thrombosis with thrombocytopenia syndrome, thrombosis with thrombocytopenia syndrome, that is TTS. I will not be taking this full name again and again, but again I am repeating, thrombosis with thrombocytopenia syndrome. Okay, thrombosis with thrombocytopenia syndrome. Now this particular syndrome has been associated with this particular vaccine as well. They have seen that kind of side effect has been seen. Okay, now for the first time AstraZeneca has accepted the link between the vaccine and the TTS. We will talk about TTS, what is TTS, but as of now just remember that this vaccine has been associated with TTS. Okay, now in India the manufacturing process started, or you can say AstraZeneca has come up with this particular license, and manufacturing was done by the Serum Institute of India. That is they started manufacturing Covishield, and nearly 175 crore people has been or doses has been administered. Okay. Now, what has AstraZeneca said? So there was this suit or this case has been found in UK, that is suit against it in United Kingdoms, and the company has been sued over health claimed related to vaccine which was developed along with the University of Oxford. So these two people, or you can say these two institutes has gone for the manufacturing of this Covishield vaccine, that is University of Oxford plus AstraZeneca. Okay, and now they both of these institutions are being sued. There are more than 51 cases which has been registered against them. In court document, AstraZeneca denied that TTS is caused by the vaccine at generic level. Okay, but however, they have admitted that there is very rare cases wherein this can happen. Okay, now they have in the document they have said that it is not possible, but the thing is, after in the court proceeding they have accepted in very rare cases it might be possible. Okay, so what are the symptoms of TTS? Okay, so there are various symptoms like breathlessness, pain in the chest, limbs, pinhead sized red spots, bruising of the skin in area beyond the injection site, and headache. So basically this is associated with something this has something to do with the, you can say, blood, and something to do with the clotting. So here you can say there is this breathlessness, okay, because of the oxygen supply in the blood, then pain in the chest or the limbs. Okay, so that is second thing. Then you have these red spots on the body. Other than that, bruising of the skins. So all these things are associated with the TTS. Now, thrombosis can block the blood flow in both veins and arteries depending on the location. Okay, if this particular TTS has generated inside the veins, then it will block the veins, and if it is inside the arteries, then it will block arteries. So depending upon the location, it can affect both veins and the arteries, definitely, because of which we will have a risk of strokes, heart attack, and serious breathing problems. Okay, so I hope this is clear. So now TTS is associated with the heart attack, strokes, you can say blood clotting, etc. What have earlier reports says when we are talking about the 2021, when this vaccine has came and they have started administering, what did they say? The Covishield should be given with a caution to people having a low platelet count. At that point of time, this caution was taken care, or you can say it was some place in their mind, and they have come up with this particular statement that Covishield should be given with a caution to people having low platelet counts. Okay. Then in March 2021, European countries temporarily paused the administration of vaccine because there have been few cases which are related to the blood clotting. Okay. Now WHO has acknowledged that based on the latest available data, the risk of TTS with the Covishield vaccine appear to be very low. Okay. Now we have seen the data, that is data says that in 4 cases per million, that is the frequency, or you can say that is the burden, you can say 1 case per 2,50,000 people. So that is you can say that it is a rare occurrence. Okay. And when we are talking about you can say European Union, in European Union there is this 1 case per lakh population. Okay. So that particular you can say occurrence is rare. Then what about cases in India? So India has an occurrence of 0.61 cases per million. Per 10 lakh people you have 0.61 case. Okay. So that is you cannot say that it is like a very huge burden, or but the thing is there are certain rare chances wherein you can develop this TTS. Okay. So it is minuscule, continues to have a definite positive benefit risk profile. When we are talking about the time when these Covishield and Covid vaccine were administered, so that was a chaos. We were living in a pandemic. We did not have any other choice. We wanted to curb that particular pandemic. Okay. Now if we see the benefits of that particular vaccine, that has saved many lives, and now there are some cases wherein we are talking about at a level of 0.61 case per 10 lakh people. So no doubt every life matters, but the thing is these are some calculated risks which can be taken. Okay. Then at least 36 TTS cases has been confirmed due to Covishield. In the last report there were 18 deaths that were reported from these cases. Okay. So earlier we can say in total there has been 36 TTS cases which has been reported in India. Okay. After this much doses, 175 crore doses, we have 36 cases. Okay. And when we are talking about the Covaxin, there is no potential TTS related side effect which is to be seen in Covaxin. So we can say that in Covaxin we did not say any such side effect, but in your Covishield there was this particular side effect. Okay. Now here I have taken this infographic which is talking about thrombocytopenia that is low number of platelets, that is the thrombocytes. Okay. So basically this is the disease, this is your TTS, wherein you will have low number of platelets in the blood. Okay. Now the that is the problem which has been seen. Normally when we are talking about, there should be a platelet count of 1,50,000 to 4,50,000, okay, per microliter of blood. But when we are talking about this scenario TTS, in this particular syndrome you will have below 1,50,000 cells per microliter. Okay. So that is the situation. Platelets are involved in blood clotting, and without in this particular case clients have increased risk of bleeding. Okay. So I hope this is clear. Now we can move further with the next article, which is also related to a disease, that is mumps. Okay, hold on. Okay, so mumps cases spikes from almost 0 to 5 to 6 a week. Okay, so this particular article is talking about Delhi. Okay, when we are talking about the immunization program, so there are certain vaccines which has been provided. So Delhi is one of the place wherein this vaccine is provided for, that is MMR vaccine. Okay, so that vaccine is provided for the mumps disease as well. Okay, now the thing is, during the COVID time, what happens? Our focus was on the vaccination drive for COVID. That time these MMR vaccines, or you can say the vaccination drive for other diseases, took a backseat, and because of which this occurrence of mumps is starting again. Earlier there were cases that is almost 0, now they are 4 to 5 or 5 to 6 cases per week. Okay. Now let's see what is this due to low vaccination due to COVID a factor. Okay. Now 5 to 6 cases of a complication due to the mumps, a far cry from earlier where negligible cases are reported every year. A drop in vaccination rate is due to COVID pandemic, could be a major reason for the spike. Okay. Now most of the patients are of this particular age, that is 6 to 7 years age, that is basically your kids are prone to this particular disease caused by the paramyxovirus. Okay, paramyxovirus or paramyxovirus, a member of rubella virus family. Mumps usually affects the parotid gland. Okay, so hold on. Okay, so mumps basically affect the parotid gland, which makes saliva on each of the faces, each side of the faces. So we have this particular gland over here, that is parotid gland, which is making saliva. Okay, and we have this on the both side, and it is the disease which is affecting the parotid gland. Okay, so now the disease spread through the infected saliva. Now this is what is written over here. That is basically the important part which I would want you to remember, that is mumps is an illness caused by the paramyxovirus, that is a member of rubella virus family. It affects the parotid glands on each side of the face. This disease spread through the infected saliva. Now what are the symptoms? Here you can say the swollen and painful painful salivary glands, sore throats, fever, headache, fatigue, and appetite loss. Okay. Now coming to this particular pattern, the center provides vaccination to the states only for measles and rubella. These are also, you can say, viruses from the same family, measles and rubella, and not for the mumps. So when we are talking about the central immunization program, they have vaccines for the rubella and measles. Okay, but in Delhi they are also giving for the mumps. Okay. Delhi has been providing a vaccine for mumps as well. During the pandemic, a major part of the population was left unvaccinated, leading to the compromised immunity. Now, in increasing the number of parotitis, the medical term for swollen parotid glands. So, this is also a term which is associated with this particular illness, that is parotitis, that is related to your swelling of parotid gland. Okay, we have already talked about this parotid gland, that is the glands which are producing your saliva. It is present on the both sides, okay, of your face. Now coming to this part, normally mumps is mild and self-limiting disease. Within 5 to 6 days it will disappear. Okay. Now the disease can be prevented by the MMR vaccine. We will talk about that vaccine. Then there is this journal which has that an increase in the number of mumps outbreak has been reported from the several parts of the country in the recent past, calling it a matter of concern. Not only in Delhi, but in the several part of countries, this particular disease, or you can say this has been spreading. MMR, that is measles, mumps, rubella vaccine in the universal immunization program, along with the strengthening the surveillance, is required to tackle the this particular situation. When we are talking about surveillance, here they are talking about the, you can say, diagnosis of this particular disease, or you can say cases which are to be reported. Okay. Now MMR vaccine, that is related to measles, mumps and rubella, because three viruses are from the same family, and that is why this particular vaccine. Okay. Now here you can see, when we talk about mumps, here you can see a particular side, one side of the face will be swollen. Okay. So that is what a symptom you can say. Other than that, there will be headache, pain in the joints, swollen parotid glands, which we have already seen, then loss of appetite, fever and a dry mouth. Okay. Prevention is basically your MMR virus vaccine. Okay. MMRV. Okay. Now keep, how do you keep from spreading? So basically it is spreading with the infected saliva. So you have to take some measures, like don't share your drinks or eating utensils with anyone. Cough, when you are coughing, you should cover your mouth. Then stay home when you are sick. Wash your hands with soap and water, clean and disinfect the surfaces. Okay. So that is the basic things which you can remember. Now we can move ahead with the next article, that is related to your why large parts of India experiences heat waves in April. Okay. Now when we are talking about heat waves, there are certain things, okay, certain parameters when you decide that now it is a heat wave. Okay. So I will not go into all these things, because these are already been discussed various times. Now I will tell you what are the areas which are prone to these heat waves. We will see how, when IMD declares that there is a heat wave. Okay. So we will discuss this. Then what led to the heat waves in April? What was the reason? That is the main cause of concern taking this particular article. Okay. So that is all we will discuss. Now here let's see, for 26 days this April, either a small pocket or a considerably large geographical area in India experienced heat wave condition. Okay. So 26 days out of 30 days, for 26 days you have seen that there are certain parts where was these heat waves were going on. Okay. Now while the southern peninsular and the southeast coastal areas have been the worst affected, the northern plains are yet to experience heat wave condition this season. Okay. Now in mostly when we are talking about the May or June, we will experience these summers. Okay. So but when we are talking about this southern coast and the peninsular area, they have already has their worst experience. So here you can say parts of Gangetic, West Bengal, Jharkhand, Odisha witness severe heat waves. Other than that, also there are some areas like here you can see Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, Chandigarh, Delhi, West, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Vidarbh and the Gangetic parts of West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana. These are the areas which are most prone to heat waves. Okay. So this is basically area of plains, and then the southern part or the coastal area or peninsular part, this is basically you can say prone to heat waves, because other than that if you see we have Himalayas, so obviously those part will be not be under the effect of heat waves. Okay. Now when IMD declares heat wave, there are 2-3 parameters. One is then when the maximum temperature at a station in a plain area has reached 40 degrees Celsius or more. Okay. For plains, I will write it down somewhere. So for a particular station in plains, if the temperature is moving more than 40 degrees Celsius, okay, maximum temperature, then it will be called a heat wave. Then when we are talking about the coastal areas, for the coastal areas, if the temperature is going more than 37 degrees Celsius, okay, then we will say it is a heat wave. In the hilly areas or the hills, if we see that temperature is more than 30 degrees Celsius, that we will see that it is also a heat wave. Okay. Other than that, if we look at a normal picture, or you can say not like this, if we see the overall condition, so severity of a heat wave is determined by the departure from the normal temperature. If you are living in an area like let's say Rajasthan, the normal temperature there would be 42 degree around. Okay. Now if there is a departure in that particular temperature, that in the level of 4 to 4.5 to 6.4 degrees Celsius. Okay. So change in the temperature from the normal temperature is 4.5 to 6.4 degrees Celsius. We will see that there is a normal heat wave. Okay. So for the normal heat wave to be there, there should be a temperature departure that is 4.5 to 6.4 degrees Celsius, and for a severe heat wave, okay, we will see that there is a temperature departure which is more than 6.4 degrees Celsius. Okay. So ultimately what we are saying that if we take a normal temperature, if let's say in a hilly area there is a temperature of around let's say 27 degrees Celsius, okay, in summers. Now that has increased by to around 34 degrees Celsius or 35 degrees Celsius. Now that condition will be called a severe heat wave because the temperature difference has gone beyond 6.4 degree. Okay. So these are the two parameters which you have to remember. One is related to this and second is from the normal temperature. Okay. A heat wave could also be declared based on the actual maximum temperature. If it is more than 45 degrees Celsius, a heat wave is declared. If it is more than 47 degrees Celsius, a severe heat wave is declared. Okay. So here it is clear now, because we are saying that 45 degrees Celsius and more there is a heat wave, 47 degree Celsius and more, that is basically your you can say severe heat wave. Okay. So that is basically this is only because minimum temperature of planes we are taking 40 degrees Celsius. Now we are saying that for a heat wave to be a normal heat wave, that the temperature difference is should be 4.5 to 6.4. So obviously we have taken 5 degrees over here, and then for more than 6.4 we have taken 7 degrees over here. So that is basically idea when IMD will declare these heat waves. So please remember this particular portion, that can be important from your prelims point of view. Okay. Then what led to these heat waves? There are 2-3 factors which we have already discussed many times. One thing is your El Nino. Why El Nino? El Nino is famous for increasing the sea surface temperature in the equatorial Pacific region. Okay. Now if there is an increase in the sea surface temperature in the equatorial Pacific Ocean temperature, now the warm air from that area which will travel to other parts as well. So this El Nino effect in that particular area will impact the other portions of the earth as well. So ultimately that is one reason. Here you can say the El Nino state weather pattern refers to abnormal warming of the surface temperature or surface water temperature in the equatorial Pacific Ocean, which leads to extreme heat waves in many parts of the world and the ocean. Okay. Now here which follow the El Nino event experience extreme temperature, harsh and multiple extended heat wave spells and lack of pre-monsoon rainfall. So basically when we are talking about El Nino have this impact which reduces the rainfalls in the monsoon. Okay. Now El Nino is done, and the year which is preceding the El Nino, now that particular year will see these harsh conditions wherein there will be lack of pre-monsoon showers, then there will be extreme temperature, harsh and multiple heat waves in that particular area. Second is persistent presence of anticyclonic systems. When we are talking about anticyclonic system, we are talking about a system of high pressure. Okay. So here at a particular height of 3 kilometers and then even more than that, you can say 3 kilometers in the lower atmosphere and the extended between 1000 to 2000 kilometers in size. Okay. So at that particular level there will be a high pressure, and that because of the high pressure they will you can say push the warm air towards earth. Okay. Now they will push the warm air towards the earth. Ultimately these warm airs are moving towards the earth, that will increase the temperature. Okay. So they will push the air underneath them towards the earth, and the air subsides. The forcefully sunk air generates more heat on the surface of the earth. Okay. Now ultimately this surface of the earth which will see the rise in the temperature, that is why there will be heat waves. Okay. Now the presence of anticyclonic air flow also favor wind from land towards sea. This is the third thing. When we are talking about the anticyclonic conditions, we are saying that they actually lead the wind. Okay. They lead the wind from the land towards the sea. When we are talking about the cyclonic circulations, we will see that the wind will move from the sea towards the land, and they will take the moisture from the sea and then they go to land and there will be some kind of rain. Okay. But when we are talking about anticyclonic conditions, in this condition what will happen is that there will be a wind which will flow from land toward the ocean. Okay. So because of which what happens, the cold cooling effect, the what do you call it, this is basically prevalent of the cooling breeze. Okay. Sea breezes, I'm sorry I was not getting the word. So the cooler sea breeze which are coming from the sea side, which are not reaching the land because of this anticyclonic conditions. Okay. Because there is a air mass which is coming from the land towards the sea, and these cooler sea breezes which are supposed to be start from the seas and goes toward the land, that is not happening over there, and because of which again the temperature of you can say the land rises. Okay, so these are the conditions which are leading to your heat waves. So ultimately we have discussed three things. One is your this El Nino effect. Second is your anticyclonic activities which are there and at the height of 3 kilometers and above 1000 to 2000 kilometers. So these at these heights what happens that air is subsiding over because of the conditions over there, that air generates a heat on the earth surface. Okay, so that is one thing. Third is your there is no sea breeze which is coming towards the sea, land. There is a land breeze which is moving from the land towards the sea. Okay, so ultimately these are the factors which are not letting the temperature to decline, and we see these heat waves. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Now we can move forward. Here these are the dates given on which they have experienced the you can say heat waves, but this is not important, just the areas are important which we have already seen over here. Okay, now moving further. Charging of interest rates, RBI detects overcharging by banks and asks them to refund the borrowers. Now you are going to a bank and bank is giving you a loan. Okay, let's say you went to bank today, let's say 1st May, you went to a bank, you asked for a loan. Okay, they have sanctioned you the loan on 1st May, they have sanctioned the loan, but it was reflected in your account in 15 days. They have said that there will be some time some formalities are there, and on the 15th May you got your loan inside your bank account. Okay, now what happens is that what bank is doing, or what some banks are doing right now, they are charging the interest for these 15 days as well. Now that person did not take loan, or they did not utilize the loan because loan was reflecting in the account on the 15th of May. Okay, for these 15 days technically he should not be given any kind of interest, but what banks are doing is they are charging these interest as well. And now when we are talking about the normal consumers or the customers which are going to the banks, they are not well versed with the policies of the bank. They do not realize that how the system works. So whatever is happening, whatever is the protocol the banks are following, they are bound to accept that. Okay, so now RBI has scrutinized few things. Okay, because RBI has the supervisory power on the banks, so they have seen that that is a practice which is prevalent in the banking system, and that is you can say not a very you can say right practice to do. Okay, so ultimately bank has said that if you are doing something like this, you have to refund this particular amount to the customer, because that is not rightfully gathered from you. Okay, rightfully earned interest, it is not a rightfully earned interest. Okay, now that is what has happened. There are 2-3 cases, we will see how they are actually going for you can say earning extra, and now RBI has said that you have to return back to the customers. Okay, now let's see. Reserve Bank of India has come across instances of lenders resorting to certain unfair practices in charging of excess interest from the borrowers. Okay, so they are charging excess interest. Okay, and that is also doing you can say by the unfair practice. Now it is under the power of RBI to supervise the banks, and with respect to that particular power they have gone for scrutiny. So they have said that banks were charging interest from the date of sanction of the loan or the date of execution of the agreement, and not from the date of the actual disbursement. Okay, as I told you, the loan was sanctioned on the 1st of May. Okay, and the amount was reflected in the bank account in 15th of May. Now bank are charging the interest from the 1st of May. Now this 15 days interest they are charging extra. So that is one first case. Okay, now second is interest was charged from the date of check, whereas the check was handed over to the customer several days later. Now let's say similar condition, you went to bank, you took a loan on 1st of May, loan was sanctioned, okay, on the 1st of May. Now they have given you the check, they are not reflecting in the bank but bank account, they have given you a check on 10th of May. That check has been given to you on the 10th of May, you have encashed the this particular check on 12th of May. Okay, now what banks are doing is, actually you got the funds on the 12th of May, but banks are doing is that they are charging you interest from the 1st of May. Now that is problematic. Again, they are taking they are taking the interest of these 12 days, okay, which is an unfair practice, because customer did not have that money, the customer did not utilize that money for 12 days. Okay, so that is the second case which is happening over here. Okay. Third is, in case of the dispersal or the repayment during the course of the month. Now you have taken the loan, now you are going to repay the loan. Okay, so let's say loan was due till 30th of May. Okay, you went to the bank and you gave the loan on the 15th of May. You have repaid everything. Okay, but they are charging interest till 30th of May. They have already calculated it, and they will say that this is the interest which is calculated, and you have to pay till this. Now customer will pay the interest of from 15th May to 30th May as well, but he has given or repaid the loan on the 15th of May. Now these 15 days are also interest which is charged extra. Okay, so that is the third case. Okay. Now it was also observed that the banks collecting one or more installment in advance but recognizing the full amount for the charging interest. Okay, so they are using the full amount, but they have taken one or two installments in advance, but they are still considering, or you can say they are taking the loan, the full loan amount. They are not reducing these installments from that particular interest calculation, etc. So this is the fourth practice which is right now happening in some banks. Okay. So now RBI has seen that, and RBI has given a directive. That directive is that RBI directed the banks and NBFC to review their practices regarding the mode of dispersal of the loans, application of the interest, and the changes or the charges that and the corrective action should be taken. Okay, including including system level changes. Okay, they have said that if your system is like that, your system or the computer system is designed to be like that, you have to change that system. Okay. So this is the direction which has been given to address the issue highlighted by the RBI. Okay, that is to ensure the fairness and the transparency in the banking system. Advise banks to refund such excess interest and the other charges to the customers. Okay, now this is what RBI has said to the banks and the NBFCs which has taken this particular extra charges. Okay, now what is the RBI's policy on the interest rates? Okay, so there is this fair practice code. Now banks has to follow this particular code. Okay, and the idea behind this particular code is to ensure the, you can say, fairness and transparency. Okay, now let's say here it advocates the fairness and transparency in the charging interest by the lenders while providing adequate freedom to the bank as regard to their loan principal policies. Okay, you have the freedom with respect to the giving the loan, how what is the procedure, etc. That is your freedom, but again you cannot go for the unfair practices. Okay, so to avoid that unfair practices, there is this fair practice code. Okay, non-standard practices of the charging interest are not in consonance with the spirit of the fairness and the transparency in dealing with the customers, which has all these things which has happened, that is not in the spirit of the fairness and the transparency. Whenever such practices has come to light, RBI through its supervisory team has advised bank to refund such excess interest and other charges to the customers. Okay, now do banks inform the borrowers about their changes in the interest rate, okay, or the charges? Okay, so mostly once you have taken the loan, okay, you have to pay the installments. If you are not paying the installments, then they will come to your place. Otherwise they will not inform you of anything. If there is an increase in the interest rate, they will go for the increase in the interest rate. They automatically go for the increase, and the EMI will increase because the interest rate has increased. Okay, now how these interest rate are increasing, that is basically your monetary policy committee is there. They are going for the repo rate, and that benchmark rate is the repo rate. Okay, so on the basis of the change in the repo rate, there are changes in the interest rate as well. Now as per the practice, that should be the norm, that bank should inform the customer. Bank should give a customer a choice that either you can go for the fixed interest rate or you can go for this particular change. Okay, now that is not done. One thing is that at the time of giving the loan, that should be discussed with the customer. Second thing, whenever there is an increase in the interest rate, then these you can say particular information should be given to the customers by proper channels. Okay, but that is not happening. Okay, but again what banks are saying, that they are following the practice code. That is what banks are saying. Most of the banks are saying that they are following the fair practice code, but that is not the case. So that is why RBI in this particular case, they have said that you have to refund it. Okay. Now what is important for you is that there is a fair practice code which is to be practiced by the banks. Second thing is RBI has the supervisory power. In case of any kind of discrepancies, RBI can direct or give some kind of directions to the bank. Okay. Now coming to the next article. Public investment remains as an important driver for the India's growth, says IMF. Okay. So there is nothing much in this article to discuss. There are 2-3 things which has happened, that IMF has increased the projections. Okay. IMF has increased this projection of, you can say, growth forecast for India from 6.5% to 6.8% for year 24-25. Okay. And for 25-26, they have said that it will be, for 25-26 it would be 6.5%. Okay. Now they have increased this particular you can say growth projections for India, and they have increased this projection for the as Asia Pacific as a region as well. Okay. Because there are certain demands, demands driven economy is the, you can say, there are certain investments because of which demand is increasing, and that is why they are saying that there will be an increase in the growth rate. Okay. Now public investment remains an important driver for India, making the world's fastest growing major economy. That is what has been said by the International Monetary Fund. Okay. IMF said that these public investment by the, you can say, government, that is basically the driver of your economy in this time. The regional economic outlook for Asia and the Pacific, they have said that in the, basically if we are talking about Asia Pacific region as well, they have said the same thing, that there will also be a prospectus of the growth. They have seen that in China also there are some, you can say, government policies which are increasing the demand, and ultimately that is also getting China out of the slum that has economic slum which they have been into for like last 1 year. Okay. Now here you can say the concern is the inflation. When we are talking about the headline inflation, the core inflation, that are basically you can say on the right path. But when we are talking about the food inflation, okay, this food inflation is the problem. Okay, we have discussed this 2-3 days back as well. Like when we are talking about the headline and the core inflation, these are doing well. When we are talking about the core inflation, it is nearly around 3.6, 3.4, 3.6, 3.7 percentage, and that is below the RBI's target, that is 4%. But when we are talking about this food inflation, that was around 8%. So ultimately the average would be around, you can say, 5.5, 5.6%. So this is beyond your 4% target. Okay. So ultimately this food inflation is the problem, which is not only in India but in this particular region it is prevalent. Okay. So here you can see the headline inflation may see further reduction due to the lower energy prices, but the food price pressure, especially for the rice, may slow the headline deflation in India. Okay. Then there is this you can say IMF has earlier raised the India's growth forecast, which I have already discussed, from 6.5 to 6.8, and for the next year they have said that it will be 6.5%. India and the Philippines, they are going for the increase in the resilient demand. Okay. So because of this particular, these two countries, these area is doing well because there is a persistent demand which is increasing in this region. Okay. So the growth aspect for when we are talking about India, Asia Pacific, that is also 4.5%. China is also trying to get out of that particular slum because of the government policies of the investment. Okay. Now that is about this particular public investment, and because of which we can say that what is the economic situations in Asia Pacific as well as India. Okay. Now moving further. Around the world, Netanyahu vows to invade Rafah with or without deal as truce talks continue. Yesterday we have talked about article wherein we have said that Blinken has said that Hamas has this peace offer from Israel, and it is the ball is in Hamas court and they can decide on that. But here Netanyahu is saying that they will invade Rafah with or without deal. Okay, if there is a peace process, if there is a deal or not, they will invade Rafah. Okay, Rafah crossing has been important. In our previous discussion, I have shown you on the map as well. This is the crossing between your Egypt and Gaza Strip. Okay, so this you can see. Other than that, there is this Taliban work to promote a different side of Afghanistan. I will not go into details of this article because this is not important. If you have any kind of interest, okay, so you can go. But what I would like to tell you about this article is that now the countries like Taliban, they are trying to diversify their economy. Okay, with USA gone from Taliban, there was this situation wherein USA gone from Afghanistan. There was this situation in Afghanistan wherein Taliban was given the administration, control to the of the Afghanistan. Okay, so USA has given the administrative control of Afghanistan to Taliban, and they have withdrawn from the Afghanistan. Now the government or the governance in that particular area is under the control of Taliban, and Taliban is you can say a group, okay, which is kind of, you can say, orthodox. Now they are, against the women's education, etc. All these things you must have heard about. Recently Taliban has said that they want to promote the tourism in Afghanistan. Now why is that? Because Afghanistan's you can say economy is not very diverse, the source of income are very limited. Okay, the aid from the countries like you can say USA, etc. is not now up to that mark. So now they are trying to go for the revival of the economy over there, and tourism, they think that can be a you can say a sector which can be explored over there because of the historical context. When we see Afghanistan, and Afghanistan has always been you can say battlefield for various empires, etc. So let's see what is happening. They have started the training tourism and hospitality professionals. Okay, so they have chosen some 30 men, and they are basically going through this particular training. Again, these are 30 men, there is no woman in that particular you can say group. Okay, they vary in range of age, education and professional. They are all men. Afghan women are banned from the studying beyond 6th grade. Okay, they are all eager to promote a different side of Afghanistan. The economy is struggling and the infrastructure is poor and poverty is rife. Okay, the foreigners are visiting the country, encouraged by the sharp drop in the violence, increased or you can say increase in the flight connectivity. So basically, considering this particular thing, they are saying that this is an attraction for the foreigners. Foreigners are coming over here, violence has decreased and ultimately connectivity is increased. So they are coming over here and they are trying to explore this particular front. Okay, there are certain challenges. These challenges are like, there is despite being increase in the connectivity, there is still no direct flight when we see from certain countries from which the you can say these tourists can come. Okay, so there are certain infrastructure level problems, but again they are trying to you can say train these people so that these area can be explored. Now this you can use in you can say this people to people, or you can say track to diplomacy. Okay, so these things becomes important in the you can say international relations. Okay, so you can go through this particular article and see what they are doing. There are some disadvantages, as I told you. When we are talking about the advantage, obviously, as I told you, there are various empires which has been over here. So there are various monuments, etc., which are present over there. There are historical contexts. Okay, other than that, it is an area for the study for the scholars, historians, etc. So that can be a you can say good destination. When we are talking about this advantage, there is visa requirements. All these things are very difficult over there. Okay, so they are trying to go for the visa on arrivals, but that is also a a difficult task to achieve. It will take years. Okay. So other than that, when we are talking about the Afghan embassies, so there is the internal conflict between the people who used to work in the embassies earlier, and now Taliban is there. So there is this internal conflict in the embassies as well. See, ultimate aim is to have a visa on arrival for the tourism for the tourists. That could take years. Now there is this other challenge, that is your road networks. Okay, and then airlines are largely avoid the Afghan space airspace. So all these things are basically, as I told you, there is no direct routes with major tourist markets like China, Europe or India. So all these things are the factors which are basically challenges. So you can go through this particular article. Now we can move to before that, this is Hazara Sakhi shrine in Kabul. Now this particular shrine is important, so you can just remember the name, because I remember there was this Buddhist temple, and UPSC has asked about this particular temple which is present in Afghanistan. There is one temple in Cambodia, Vietnam. So if there is a temple which are associated somehow with our culture, so UPSC has this tendency to ask. Other than that, if there is a monument or structure which is having some kind of relevance in the current affairs, UPSC can ask this. So please remember that as well. Okay. Now, for your own read, there is this article, Supreme Court Article 39B shouldn't be read like there is no protection for private rights. We have talked about this case in the, you can say, which is in front of Supreme Court, which said that, which is basically taking care of this issue when there is can the government take away the private properties as well. Okay, so there was this particular term which is used in 39B, that is material resource. Various courts has taken various interpretations with respect to the material resources. We have discussed that. Now the case is in front of Supreme Court, and Supreme Court will decide whether this material resource include the private property or not. Okay, because obviously public property is there, it is in the domain of the government, but private property, can government take away the private property? Okay, so these are this is one article, you can go through this. Okay, earlier other than that we have discussed in our previous lectures. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Now last part of the day, that is your practice question. What is the primary cause of mumps? I have, in the start of the lecture, I have told you that what kind of disease it is. So bacteria, virus, fungus or protozoa. So you have to attempt this question, answer in the comment box. With that, I would like to take your leave. If you have not subscribed the channel, please subscribe the channel. Thank you.